When talking about the Crusades, the events that traditionally come to mind are the series of religious wars between the years 1095 to 1291, sanctioned by the Catholic Church, especially the campaigns in the Eastern Mediterranean, aimed at snatching back Palestine from Islamic rule. In reality, however, the Crusader onslaught against Islam did not just last between the 5th and 7th centuries of the Hijri calendar. The Crusades, in the assessment of several leading Muslim historians, is actually an ongoing onslaught targeting Islam that commenced right at the inception of the Islamic State in Medina and continues in different manifestations right until the current moment. Facing waves of incursion from the Muslim Seljuk Turks, the Byzantine Emperor Alexios Komnenos, who ruled between the years 1081 and 1118, sent a plea for help to the Pope, Urban II, to send armies to protect the capital of his empire. There were ongoing conflicts between the Eastern Orthodox churches of the Byzantine Empire and the Western Catholics of Rome. Nonetheless, the need of the moment left the Byzantine emperor with no choice but to call upon his Catholic brethren, and the papacy did not waste time in responding, viewing this as a golden opportunity to expand its influence in the East. On November the 27th, 1095, Pope Urban II stood before a religious council in Clermont in southern France and delivered an all-important speech. A sharp-witted and strong man, Urban II touched all the right buttons of his audience in rousing them to support his objectives in the East. He considered the feudal nature of society in Europe, the incessant disputes and skirmishes about land, and promised that an abundance of land awaited those who joined him in the East, compensating for what they lacked in the West. He recognized the bad lot of European peasants, who were at the beck and call of the upper classes, and hence promised to annul their commitments to their masters and tempted them with the good things of the Islamic East. Whilst the Islamic world at that point was bathing in prosperity, Europe was wallowing in poverty. France had just suffered a severe famine. The crisis was so severe that people had resorted to eating grass and fodder. A popular folk story tells of the lullaby a European mother was heard singing to her child, called Bodo.
Bodo, my baby, do not cry. Bodo, my baby, hush and die.
Pope Urban recognized that a call to arms opened a new door to the starving masses, offering them the chance to escape from their difficult situation. The poor were to take the danger of participating in the campaign very lightly in comparison to the life that they were living. If they died during the campaign, they were promised salvation, and if they survived, they would have a life that was better than the one they had been living. Do not let anything hold you back, he said, because the land you are residing in now, which is surrounded by sea and mountaintops, is too small for its many inhabitants. It is virtually unable to supply them with enough food, and because of that, you are slaughtering and devouring one another. Jerusalem, he said, is a land without equal in its crops and produce. It is a veritable paradise of delights. The call to crusade was the result of a range of political, economic, and social reasons. However, at its core lay religion, which was both a fuel and a means of conceding the mission's more self-serving motives. Pope Urban exploited a religious zealotry that emerged in Western Europe in the 10th century and reached its peak in the 11th to strengthen the position of the papacy and stir up religious fervor in the people's hearts. He exhorted his audience to come to the assistance of Christians in the East, claiming that churches were being pillaged and pilgrims being attacked. Historians have noted that there were isolated incidents of Muslim crimes against Christians in the East, but these were far from the norm. Christians in Muslim lands at that time enjoyed a great share of religious and other freedoms under Muslim rule. Urban spewed out all kinds of outrageous propaganda to add fuel to the fire. Muslims were called a despised race and a cursed race, a race utterly alienated from God. They were labeled as Gentiles, Amalekites, and demon worshippers. They were accused of circumcising Christians and pouring the blood of circumcision upon church altars. It was claimed that they were killing Christians by striking at their bellies and ripping their intestines out. Muslims were accused of imposing overbearing taxes on Christian pilgrims, and in one bizarre account, the Pope allegedly claimed that Muslims had even examined the calluses of a Christian traveler's heel, cutting them open and folding the skin back, purportedly to inspect whether the traveler had sown any money therein. The Pope promised all forgiveness for their sins in the kingdom of heaven. At the same time, he warned that curses would befall anyone who turned back on their heels after embarking upon the mission, and threatened to excommunicate anyone who failed to heed the Church's call to arms. French. Urban II's speech at Clermont was littered with biblical references and succeeded in rousing the emotions of his audience. In response to his words, the audience erupted in unison with volleys of the chant, Deus vult, meaning God wills it. Hardly had he finished his speech when a bishop stood up, bowed before him, and sought his permission to join the campaign. The moving scene stirred the hearts of the onlookers, who then rushed in their hundreds to bow before the Pope with unprecedented zeal. They took up the cross and all swore to recapture the Holy City. The number of those who pledged allegiance to the cause on the spot reportedly numbered some 300,000.
We have to appreciate to begin with that they did that for religious reasons. It was not like they went as the Byzantine hordes of yesterday. It was different. There was a religiosity in their experience. They were called Peregrini Militae Christi. They were pilgrim knights of Christ. They traveled with the pilgrim staff and the pilgrim cross. They made a vow or declaration to do that and to die for God's sake. They did all of these things. They wrote in their charters the reason why they're going, and they went, for religious reasons. Not all of them. Many of them, they went for land. They went there to settle once they've recaptured Jerusalem, to settle there, financial reasons, but most of them, I think, went there for religious reasons.
Pope Urban's speech was no ordinary one. Rather, it was more akin to the declaration of a medieval world war. The response of the masses to him was not merely a reaction to his eloquence. It was an expression of the listeners' joy at an enterprise which spoke to their dreams. The crusade, as it would come to be known, would serve as an all-embracing umbrella beneath which everyone could proceed to secure the achievement of their worldly dreams and hopes of salvation in the year after. Laughs at cheering. But as the war cries reached a fever pitch in Europe, in the East, the Muslims remained insulated, unaware of the great calamity that was about to befall them. If this story moved you, inspired you, or taught you something new, please support this channel by liking this video and sharing it with others. Your support helps keep these important stories alive. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our future documentaries. The Spiritual Sword, next part coming soon. Thank you for watching. Until next time.